to move on to our second speaker for this outreach session. We have Chris Vaughan, aka Astro Geo Guy. Now, Chris is a University of Toronto graduate and a professional outreach educator in astronomy and earth sciences in the Greater Toronto area. Chris is also an operator and tour guide for the David Dunlop Observatory, a regular instructor in the NOVA astronomy course. And in addition to being heralded with tons of awards from the RASC Toronto Centre, in 2018, Chris actually received the Reach for the Stars Award from the City of Markham in recognition for not just the promotion of astronomy, but also the fight against light pollution in Thornhill. And anybody who's been to that upper area north of Toronto knows how bad things were getting in the Thornhill area. Chris, this GA is being honored with the Simon Newcomb Award for Excellence in Astronomical Writing. So I hope you'll go and listen to the award ceremony. I believe it's tomorrow evening, and get a chance to hear a little bit more about what Chris offers. But a lot of us subscribe to his weekly bulletin, Astronomy Skylights, and we watch Chris and Samantha on Insider's Guide to the Galaxy. And so today, Chris is going to share with us the science fiction in the stars, a way to do out of this world outreach. So Chris, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, thank you, sir. And hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone today. Yeah, this topic is a spinoff or a revisit to one of the topics that we did on Insider's Guide to the Galaxy on YouTube. So I encourage folks to check out the RASC Canada YouTube channel, where you can find all kinds of, we think we've done upwards of 60 programs, a bunch with Samantha, and then a bunch with Jenna before her. And as well as we're doing the Messier Minutes. So please do check those out when you have a chance. All right, I'm going to share my screen and let's get started here. Let's see if this works. Good. So I'm going to do science fiction in the stars. And, this is inspired by ways that you can really connect with people who may not be astronomy enthusiasts, but you may meet up with at a library where you've got your telescope out, or at a star party, or somebody wanders by and says, "What are you up to? What are you looking at?" And I find that, you can really connect with people if you can relate what they're seeing. Sharing the science is great. We love doing that all the time. But if you can connect with something in pop culture or in fandom, then they really connect. And I have people come back and see me 2-3 years later and say, "I can still find something in the sky because of something you told me and reminded me about." And I'll actually spin back to that in a little bit here. So don't worry too much about being perfectly scientifically accurate. We're just kind of infect people with the bug, to get them interested in looking up and looking at the sky. People can look up facts and figures later if they want to follow up with you, but really it's a matter of inspiring them and getting them fired up about what our passion is. So let's start. First up is the moon. Now, some of these I didn't cover in my previous Insider's Guide. So some of this is brand new material. So when you're looking at the moon, I've got a couple of things that are especially interesting. For those that are fans of the old 1968 movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, a novel by Arthur C. Clarke, film by Stanley Kubrick, there are two moon features featured in that story that are practically naked eye objects, definitely binoculars, and certainly backyard telescopes. And those are the crater Tycho and the crater Clavius, which are sitting here in the southern hemisphere of the moon. The other one I'm going to talk about is the novel Artemis, soon to be a motion picture. And that one is actually set near the Apollo 11 landing site. So I'm going to get into a little bit of that. I put a 2020X. We don't know when the movie's coming out, but hopefully soon. So 2001: A Space Odyssey, Dr. Heywood Floyd travels. There's news of this mysterious discovery on the moon. He travels to the moon, lands at Clavius Base. This is his craft, his shuttle, landing in the distance on Clavius Base, and the gibbous moon in the background. And so I'm assuming, because if you're in the southern hemisphere of the moon, the Earth would be in the northern sky, and a deeply south crater like Clavius, the moon will be kind of lower in the northern sky. And so I'm assuming that if this is the crater rim the astronauts are standing on, then the base must be kind of in the southern reaches of Clavius crater, sort of looking northwards towards the Earth. Here's a sort of a 3D rendered model view using Starry Night software. We're hovering above the Earth and we're looking earthward, hovering above the moon, looking earthward, sort of over Clavius crater. And it's distinctive by its chain of descending sized craters that arc through the base of that large crater. And the crater Tycho, where we're going to go to next here, is about 400 kilometers north of Clavius. So they're about 400 kilometers apart. And I'm using February 16, 2001, because in the movie, he says he was last on the moon 6 months ago in June, or about end of June or July. So we think the story takes place sometime around in February of 2001. Would have, did, will, it's all very timey-wimey, but we'll figure that out. So here's now we're moving over to Tycho crater. Now in the story, there's a magnetic anomaly discovered under Tycho crater, fictitious magnetic anomaly. There really isn't one, as far as we know. And when they unearthed it, they discovered the black monolith. And so I'm going to assume again, since the Earth is sitting here low in the north, that we're probably somewhere in the southern reaches of the crater for the fictitious location of this monolith. Now, one little glitch, though, is the Earth is way too low in this picture. It would be about 23 degrees above the horizon if you were really in Tycho. All right, so those are a couple of things you can point out on the moon regarding 2001 for the fans of that movie. The novel Artemis, which I highly recommend, it's another Andy Weir, lot of science fact built into his story. And he's talking about a fictitious city in the future that will be founded about 40 kilometers south of the Apollo 11 landing site. And they're in the movie features shuttles going up to visit the Apollo 11 landing site. Now, the site of the location is about just a little bit south of the moon's equator. Apollo 11 was chosen, that landing site was chosen because it was near the moon's equator. And so it was convenient for the orbital dynamics to get to the moon safely. And in a backyard telescope, you'll be able to see the crater Moltke and Moltke A. And you might even be able, when the solar illumination is nice, see this broad Rimae Hypatia that runs east and west. So that's the future fictitious city of Artemis, which it's fun to check out. All right, let's move on to Star Trek. So in Star Trek, we hear them referring to quadrants all the time. They've basically taken our Milky Way galaxy and split it into 4 quadrants centered on the core. And the Federation is down here. There's our sun. It sort of straddles the alpha and beta quadrants on this side of our galaxy. Now, generally, the planet names that you hear about in Star Trek, they use the star name, then a Roman numeral. And the star name, they flip around and they put the constellation first. So instead of, Alpha Lyrae, they'll say Lyra Alpha plus the star name. So one prime example is Ceti Alpha 5, and that's the planet that Kirk marooned Khan on, and that's where the action in the Wrath of Khan picks up at the beginning of that movie. We know that star as the bright star in the sky, Menkar. For anybody interested, there's a nice website here that lists all the different planets and stars referenced in the different episodes of the TOS, original series, Next Generation, Voyager, DS9, and so on. So that's a neat link. All right, so if you're out in the wintertime and you want to look for some stars with Star Trek connections, we've got several here to choose from. We've got Menkar that we just mentioned. That's where the nasty earworms are. So beware if you travel to Menkar, put some cotton in your ears or something like that. So that star is a bright star in the winter sky. It's a little bit to the west of Taurus. So it's an easy one to pick up in the constellation of Cetus. And then down here in this sort of weakish, medium faint constellation of Eridanus, which is sitting here just to the west of Orion, we've got a wide pair of stars named Cade and Bede, or Cade and Bede, which are actually Omicron 1 and Omicron 2 Eridanus. And we think those are the star Cade is the planet that Vulcan is located at. It's actually a triple star system, and Vulcan is supposedly orbiting the largest of the stars. What's interesting is that we've actually discovered that there is an unconfirmed super Earth orbiting close into Cade, so kind of a in the hot Mercury kind of a range of orbit. So that matches up what we saw with Vulcan on the episode before exoplanets were discovered. So that's kind of a neat coincidence. Also, we've got this star, Ran, which is also maybe. There's some different, different references to Vulcan in the lore. And some of them refer to the star Epsilon Eridani, which we call RAN. So those are kind of neat ones to look for. And then down here under the foot of Rigel, we have lots of episodes visiting or in the area of Rigel. We have the Doomsday Machine episode. We have The Cage, which was the pilot of Star Trek, and also the Mud's Women episodes were placed down around there as well. How about the summertime? So we're gearing up for summer stargazing season. So we want to be able to point things out to the summertime sky. And the summer triangle is a great place to go. But before we get there, we've got the bright star Antares and Scorpius. That's where the trouble with the triples happened. So we can point that one out. Then down here in Altair. Altair is the location of the famous Kobayashi Maru no-win scenario. So if you've seen, again, Wrath of Khan and some other references in Star Trek to the Kobayashi Maroon, that took place near Altair. Up here near Vega, so Vega was the site of the Mirror Mirror Universe episodes where you had the bearded Spock and the evil counterparts to the Star Trek crew. And then up here near Deneb, that's where me as a young kid got freaked out because in that one, I think it was the third or fourth episode in season one, one of the crew members got exposed to some radiation and his eyes turned silver and he had godlike powers. And I just remember being terrified by that. It scarred me for life. I don't know. That's Gary Lockwood for those that are wondering. All right, still in Star Trek. Now we're in the springtime. So we're just kind of past the best for this, but we've got the constellation Leo, which is sinking in the west nowadays. And down here near the bottom, near the south part of the constellation, we've got this red dwarf star, Wolf 359. So Wolf 359 is, it's about, let's get my notes here up. It's magnitude 13.6, so it's not that easy for beginners to see, but it's an M6 star, really, really red. It's about, I think, 7.8 light years away, so relatively close. And it's really a lightweight star, only about 9% of the sun's mass, so it's barely qualifying as a star. But it'll be a great JWST target because I think we've discovered we've discovered that there are potential exoplanets orbiting Wolf 359. So what is Wolf 359? That's the Battle of the Board. So the Star Trek episodes, The Best of Both Worlds, where Picard gets absorbed by the board. Sorry, I should have spoiler alerted, I guess, before I started, but it has been out for quite a while. So that's where Wolf 359 is. In a telescope, if you've got a pretty big telescope, or if you want to take an image of the area, this is an image at 264 times magnification. You'll see a little triangle of stars. The red one is Wolf 359 in this view. All right, and moving into the intergalactic space, we've got a couple of things. We've got E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, and we've got Star Wars. So on one of the movie posters, it reported that E.T. is 3 million light years from home. Don't know whether that was in the script or whether that was the marketing department trying to impress everybody. It's a little bit, stretches credibility, I guess, but that's what they said. So bear that thought in mind. And then in Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, towards the end of the movie, the heroes have gotten to the medical ship and they're looking out the window at this galaxy in the distance. So some kind of a spiral galaxy. So we know that it's a galaxy far, far away. So which one might it be? Well, I'm going to postulate that what we're talking about in these two genres or these two franchises are M31, the Andromeda Galaxy, and M33, the Triangulum Galaxy, which are here in the eastern sky. And I'm going to say that probably ET lived at M31 because it's about 2.5+ million light years away. And in that picture of the Star Wars, you didn't see really any sign of the dwarf galaxies M32 and M110 in this picture. So I'm going to say that ET's got that one because we didn't see his galaxy in the movie. And then I'm going to put Star Wars in M33, Triangulum Galaxy. And it's also about 2.75 or so million light years away. So it kind of fits the bill. How about flux capacitors and Stargates? So everybody loves Back to the Future and the flux capacitor. And I use this all the time when I'm pointing out Alberio to people. Sure, we can tell them that it's in the middle of the summer triangle, but man, when you say Alberio is the center of the flux capacitor, it really clicks with people. And this is an example of one of those things where people have come back to me later and said, Oh, I can still find Albireo because I'm looking for the flux capacitor in the summer nighttime sky. So that's a great one to use. By the way, Vega, the star Vega, that's allegedly where the aliens in Carl Sagan's movie and book novel Contact came from. So that's another thing you can connect to the star Vega in the night sky. As far as stargates, here's Stargate SG1. There's a great little asterism in northern Corvus called the Stargate. And it actually consists of a triangle of 3 stars surrounded by a larger triangle of 3 stars. And here's the view at about 150x. So that's certainly within reach of a backyard telescope, if you know where to look. The star itself is about, I'll just get you the notes here. The Stargate is about 4.7 degrees northeast of Algorab, which is part of Corvus, or it's 12 degrees directly due west of Spica, the bright star in Virgo. So that's a great one. And you can see that the center one here is counted as one of Struve's double stars, the Struve 1659. Right. Now, space exploration, everybody's heard of Lost in Space, I hope. That's the Space Family Robinson heading out to colonize a planet around one of the nearest stars, and that's Alpha Centauri. So we hear about Alpha Centauri, or now it's named Rigel Kentaurus. Not visible from Canada, unfortunately, but if you do want to take a trip to the southern hemisphere or to the tropics, you can definitely see it from there. It's a very, very big bright star. It's divided into a triple star system. So in this picture, we've got Alpha Centauri A and B, which are a double star, too close to resolve as a pair in this photo. They're kind of blurred together. And then we've got the big bright star Beta Centauri off to the right here. These two combine to make the pointer stars to the Southern Cross in the nighttime sky. And then there's a third component to the A and B system. That's Proxima, the C star. And it's actually the closest star that we know. It's 4.24 light years from Earth. It's in this little red circle here. It's a tiny little thing, barely able to pick up. It's about 12% the mass of our sun, and about, as it said, 4.24 light years away. So this is where a lot of people set their sci-fi around this star because it's so close, and so that's one of the really neat ones to see if you happen to be traveling down under. By the way, Proxima Centauri has been got 2 confirmed exoplanets and a third potential candidate. One is a close-in orbiting hot Earth, about 1.17 Earth masses. There's one in the habitable zone of the star that's a super Earth, about 7 Earth masses. And then there's a possible hot Mars, about 0.4 Earth masses, orbiting that star. So JWST is going to really revolutionize all of these sci-fi because it's going to start discovering all the planets that we've imagined in our imagination all these years. All right, how about a few more stars in summertime stars in pop culture? So down here we've got barely breaking above the horizon for us in Canada. We've got Ruckbat, which is Alpha Sagittarii. And if you've ever read the Dragon Riders of Pern book series, that's where the telepathic dragons are, down in Ruckbat. It's also, Pern stands for Parallel Earth Resources Negligible, PERN. So this is a magnitude 3.95 star, B8 class star, kind of a brightish white star. Then we've got back to Altair again. And so the movie Forbidden Planet took place on Altair 4. So that's what you can also connect to Altair 4. For winter stars in pop sci-fi, back to our map of Vulcan here and Menkar and so on. I haven't mentioned Tau Ceti, which is over here on the side here. So Tau Ceti is only about 12 light years away. It's used all the time in novels and video games and TV series. Dune, Halo, the Barbarella movie, The Expanse touches on Tau Ceti. Andy Weir's book, Project Hail Mary, is centered around Tau Ceti and another star as well. Here we'll get to in a minute. Babylon 5 is said to be orbiting the Epsilon Eridani system. If you're a fan of that old show, I hear there might be a redo coming up on that one. And then back to my Project Hail Mary comment, there's a character called Rocky. And Rocky, spoiler alert, is also from the same star we used for Vulcan. And again, if you're traveling south, say Mexico or the Florida Keys in the wintertime, you want to look south and around Christmas times. This is, I think, December 31st around 9 p.m. looking south. And you're going to spot this double star, Zeta Reticuli. Zeta Reticuli is the setting for the movie Alien and Aliens. So don't buy any eggs while you're there. It's about 39 light years away. It's a G class star. Put the slide up at the end. This is a blown up view of Messier 109. It's a barred spiral galaxy. It could very well be very similar to what our Milky Way galaxy would look like to alien astronomers sitting on Messier 109 looking back our way. And if anybody has anything they want to connect with me on, Kareem mentioned my skylights, but I've got my articles in Sky News and 100 Things to See with the Telescope and so on. And with that, I'll pause and see if anybody has any questions.
That was fantastic, Chris. And I can't believe I got a Barbarella reference in 2022. That's that's fantastic. Roland had a comment in the chat about M33 and was saying that since it's an SC type galaxy, isn't the bulge too small to match for Star Wars?
It may very well be. So, I encourage everybody to put on their sleuthing hats and work it out. Let me know. Send me a note what you work out.
There was also a private comment sent about there's been a few clubs that have put together, I guess, Harry Potter themed outreach talks, talking about all the different stars and constellations and everything. Have you dabbled in that at all? Absolutely.
So watch the Insider's Guide to the Galaxy episode on science and sci-fi and in astronomy. And we did a whole section on Harry Potter. So what I did is I selected which constellation will go with which house of Hogwarts. There is no constellation that naturally fits Gryffindor. So we did a poll. I think I selected Lynx and Ursa Major and a few, maybe bear type ones. And then I went through and identified the stars that had the character names that had star names and so on. So yeah, that's a great area. I use that when I'm doing my my planetarium outreach or my training with teachers on the planetarium and professional development. They love those lessons where they can link literature to the sky.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a hand up, Samantha.
Well, it's a quick one. I'm rereading Harry Potter. Why didn't you pick Leo for the Gryffindor?
Is Leo I probably did pick Leo for Gryffindor. Maybe Hufflepuff. I'm thinking of Hufflepuff. That's the one. Yeah, Hydra for Slytherin, Leo for Gryffindor, and I actually have it in my notes here. Let me get this up. And it's not in these notes, but yeah. So it's fun.
Oh, fantastic. Does anybody else have any questions? Let's stop sharing the screen so we can open it up. And if anybody wants to turn on their video and ask a question to Chris. Tony Shelnick is saying that he created a play called The Night Sky According to Star Trek, where empires exist. He's going to talk about it tomorrow, so that'll be fantastic. I am wondering, when you do your in-planetarium shows, do you dress up in character? Do you come out wearing a Star Trek uniform? Because you're using the font, so I figure you must have one of the red shirts.
Well, it's all a work in progress. So I just downloaded the fonts for this talk. So I'm excited to get back amongst the students and do some of this. That's a great idea. I hadn't thought of it.
I think you need the Vulcan ears. You need a phaser. A nice tricorder.
Okay. I'll put that. I'll make note of all that. I know that Alendria has a Starfleet uniform. I hope I didn't out her just then. But
and Samantha's arguing that you should be wearing Jedi robes and a lightsaber.
I'm the Star Wars side.
Okay, I could probably swing that easier than Star Trek. But yeah, all the great ideas.
And Roland has a more authentic voice because he lives in Vulcan country. So
perfect.
Chris and we need to do a Halloween episode. I have a science officer Star Trek uniform. You can wear Star Wars.
Fantastic. Actually, well, I have Back to the Future. I have a Doc Brown costume, so I can do that.
With the flux capacitor, that works. That works perfectly. Does anybody else have any questions for Chris or any comments you want to make about science fiction or fictional connections you've used in outreach that others might want to know about?
Well, as a non-sci-fi fan, the thought of stepping into this realm sort of terrifies me. If I brought these up, then it could lead to a conversation that I'd have no way to back up. And
Yeah, you don't want to get in
they
too
would
deep.
want to talk about the story, and I would have no idea what they were talking about. I've watched the early Star Treks back when I was like a kid, and I've never seen. I saw the original Star Wars when it released in the theaters with a friend who was a sci-fi fan.
Well,
And that's about it. So it would be interesting to tread on those waters.
well, the other thing you could do is link to Shakespeare. You can link to Shakespeare. You could link to the Bible. You know, Orion is mentioned here and there. There's lots of different ways you can connect them up. But Harry Potter was great because, you know, the teachers are really excited about that.
Although getting them to tell me about it, what they know might lead to just sort of hooking them too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was going to say is if you give them the avenue to teach you what they know, especially for the youth that come out, it hooks them because they now have somebody who's learning from them. And that's just such a wonderful experience. Yeah. Roland and then Judy.
Yeah, I was just going to say to Bill, go with what you know. In the Calgary Center, Jason Nishiyama and I do a spectroscopy talk dressed as the Blues Brothers, and we use Blues Brothers references throughout the 40-minute talk. So, you know, if that's what you want to do, you know, we were on a mission from God to do spectroscopy, and so, you know, choose your fictional characters. You be the owner of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it all helps.
You're muted, Judy. Sorry.
I keep forgetting that I'm muted. It strikes me throughout this whole presentation, not only from what you've said, Chris, but also from the comments from the members that are in attendance. Astronomers are just big kids at heart, and anytime they get to express the big kid inside, it is also a chance for them to excite their audience. So this is fabulous.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. No, I'm excited. Based on the new things I learned during the talk, I can't wait to get back into the planetarium with the kids and bring some of this into it as well, because I hadn't done that before, really. So
I think, Judy, the only problem is our toys are getting more and more expensive as we get older.
There is that challenge, yes.
Well, Chris, I want to thank. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the thing. Most of the things I've mentioned today are binoculars and backyard telescopes. You don't need, to spend a lot of money to engage people.